Hi everybody, it's Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio, and today I have another vintage quilt block for you. This one is called Wedding Rings, and this one is all straight piecing. There's no curved piecing in this one. Easier to do. This is made with squares and half square triangles. So I hope you will stay with me and I'll show you how to make this block. Here are the fabrics that you're going to need to make the 15-inch Wedding Rings quilt block. Now the directions have information on there for a 10-inch block if you want to make that instead, and those directions are free and the link is in the description box. For A, you're going to need 4 3.5-inch squares, and for B you'll need 2 4-inch squares, and B is teal, which is this fabric. And for C you're going to need 6 3-inch squares, which is my yellow. And then for the background you'll need 8 4-inch squares and 5 3.5-inch squares for E. So here is the E pieces, the 5 3.5-inch pieces. So I'm going to start by making my half square triangles, and I am using triangle paper because this is a lot of half square triangles and this will make it go a little bit faster. So I'm going to get started on that, and then we'll be able to put everything out in rows and then sew the rows together and then finish off the block. Okay, here are the B and the D pieces, and I've got right sides together, and then I'm going to pin these down. And I'm just avoiding the stitching lines that are marked on here. Now each triangle paper manufacturer's got their own directions, so whatever, if you're using that, just follow the directions for the brand that you've got. This is Triangles on a Roll, and I bought this from fatquartershop.com, and I've got my stitch length at 1.8. Okay, so now I need to cut everything. So I'm going to cut on the solid lines. So I'm going to do my outside lines first, and then I'll do the inside lines. Okay, so now I'm ready to lay out all of the pieces to make the block. So I have all my half square triangles. I have my A pieces and my E pieces. So I'm going to start up in the corner and turn this triangle, the blue one, it's going to go in, and then I'm going to take a yellow triangle and place that next to it. And then here's my E square, another yellow triangle, it's going to go out, and a blue triangle is going to go in. And this one row here is yellow, and then another yellow, but we're going to put that backgrounds together, and an A square goes next, a yellow and a yellow, I'll move mine a little bit more space there. Okay, next row. E square, A square. This whole row is just A and E squares, just alternating. And then we'll go back to the yellow half square triangles. This one's going to go out, this one in, an A square, and a yellow half square triangle, and then another one. That one goes out. And teal, yellow, background square, yellow, and teal. There we go. So it's hard to get all of that in, but there we go. We've got the block all laid out. So now I'm just going to sew it together in rows and then sew the rows together. So this is the wedding rings pattern, and so I'm going to sew everything into rows and then sew all the rows together, and then the block will be done. So I'm going to adjust the camera and start sewing. I'm going to press all of these rows now, and there's different ways you can do this. You can press them all open, you can press them to one side, and I don't like pressing seams open if I don't need to. For one thing, with being a long arm quilter and I do a lot of stitch in the ditch, if you press seams open, you no longer have a ditch to sew on, and even if you use a tiny stitch, you're just stitching thread over thread, and that's a weak spot. So what I like to do is press to the side if I can. And what I'm going to do for this block though is I'm going to press one row one way, the next row the other way, and that's just going to make it simpler for me. So I'm just going to press this row towards my right, and then I'll press the next row to the left. You just have to make sure I've got all the rows in the right order. And I think I do, so there's row 2, row 3, and row 4. Another thing about pressing rows, your seams open, it takes longer. So I'm always scrambling for time. So it just isn't my preferred way of pressing seams. Okay, so now these are all ready to sew together. So I'm going to lay them back out, make sure I've got them in the right order. And that looks right. So we're going to sew all of these together, and I'm going to nest the seams, and I will be pinning these. That should be right. I need one more pin. There it is. Okay. Okay, first 2 rows are ready to sew. All right, here is the block. It's all ready to be pressed. So once again, you can press open, you can press to the side, however you want to do this. I know there are a lot of so-called rules in quilting, but a lot of them is just going to be the way you want to do things. So I wouldn't get too hung up on the rules, like which way you press. I have a preference, but it doesn't always work, so sometimes I will do it a different way. But this time I'm just kind of going by what the block is telling me was going to work. And sometimes it's just easier to let the quilt do what it wants to do, the block do what it wants to do as far as pressing seams. Other times you have to do it a certain way to get the effect that you want. Okay, so I really like this block. I like the colors in it, and I like the effect. Now I'm gonna put up on the screen a diagram of a quilt made with this block, and this will show you the secondary pattern, because these corners are going to make a secondary pattern, and you can see that in the diagram. So I'll pop that up so that you can look at that and see what that looks like. Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links, and to keep up with my latest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.